Hi, this is Pig from Pig&Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan from Pig&Dan, and I'm a DJ producer. What should I say? Yeah, it was an interesting mix because basically I came more from a drum and bass world, and Igor was in the house and tech house and techno world. And this is when we, in the studio, we realized that we could put these influences together, and we started to realize that the synergy was really good between us musically. So we just carried on. It was completely organic.
And yeah, what is it? What's it been? 17, 18 years?
Yeah, man, 18 years.
So 18
Now I
years
feel
ago.
really old. But I think everybody had that, even us, to an extent, Igor. No, we wanted to get on Cocoon. We wanted to move away from where we were, the more progressive sound, and you look at a direction. But I do think people are getting really generic and listening to...
No, and also the difference, sorry to cut in, Kenny's cutting in. Kenny Powers, no. Is that when we started, you would make music and you would become successful because of the music you were releasing and the labels you were going on, right? And it was much more underground in that sense.
Well, there was no social media, man.
No, there was no social media, and there were no big music companies. There were no business. It was the people in our part of the music industry, in the electronic. There were no businessmen. There were no marketing people. Like the moment EDM started and all these big companies started coming in, and and they really started introducing products,
Brands.
and that's for me where it changes. Brands and social media, and the whole ghost. I mean, the ghost producing thing has been there, I think, since the beginning of ages. It's the ghost writing, the ghost, ghost lyrics. It's been there for ages and ages, but it's much more evident now than it ever was, and it was very evident in the pop industry, Milli Vanilli, and how many Milli Vanillis are there in the pop industry? They got caught, they got their asses served, but I'm sure there are 50 million Milli Vanillis in the music industry. We just haven't found out about them. It's a bit like cyclists and how many cyclists take dope? Yeah, exactly. How many athletes take dope? Do doping? Probably most of them, just that they don't get caught.
Well, that's happening now in the music industry.
In the electronic thing, it was more about artists running labels like Sven Vath ran Cocoon, this other artist DJ ran whatever, and it was very underground. And that's what I would call underground, is that they were little independent labels, and that changed when all the the big players came in, and you have artists that have massive investors behind them, and it's really it's become a real business. I mean, it's become the pop of the 21st century, electronic music, and maybe like a very small percentile, no, Dan, if you're really lucky, but in general, no.
I mean, think about it. You used to make money with records and DJ to promote your records, and now it's the other way around completely. So the only product you can sell out there is a live performance, and people are just building brands. I think music is unfortunately the hardest part of this industry right now. If you come in and you're a master of music, but you're not good as a brand, you're kind of screwed at the moment.
It's very sad and very complicated, unfortunately. But it's the way it is. You got to accept it, and it's a game. and if you don't, you have to know how to play that game. But it doesn't matter how much good music you make, or how many labels you're on. If you don't get the right people pushing you, or if you don't have enough money to create a marketing campaign, then you're not going to make it anyway. It's complicated.
It's a harsh reality.
The thing is, even in the pop industry, how many bands do you see now, like The Police or U2 or it's over. Or the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or what percentile of real bands are there or real artists are there in the pop industry right now? Maybe 1%, 0.5%. The rest is all, products.
Prefabricated. It's prefabricated bullshit. I truly hope it brings local talent into local areas again, because that's how it used to be. It used to be that. I mean, I remember growing up in London, there was, and you too, Igor, there was a scene there that was super local based. I mean, like, especially the drum and bass and the speed garage scene, it was very local. The Berlin techno scene was very Berlin. And
I feel like a lot of the festivals and events everywhere have the same lineups. You've lost a lot of that variety. It's like, it's a very it's just the same lineup everywhere. It feels like that. No critic towards anybody, but you've lost that sense of variety, and it's like you hear the same people play everywhere.
It's not unique. You don't go to that.
So many artists in the world, and so many people that can play. And some festivals have the same lineup every year, and you're like, yeah, because it works. I get it. It works. It brings people. It sells tickets. But musically, it's extremely boring. But it's not risky at all. But
there's very few promoters.
If promoters and festivals don't want to risk, you talk about risk. Artists, how can artists risk? You know what I mean? So in the end, it all kind of it's like a snake that eats its tail.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard of promoters that are actually going on Facebook followers in the past, or Instagram followers, and what has that got to do with music? What has that got to do with what this whole scene is about? It's got nothing to do with it. Zero.
Should I go? No, you want to go?
Well, no.
Well, I think it's my addiction, no, Dan?
Well, yeah, addiction, and I think probably, of course it was your addiction. I mean, that's hands down the biggest thing we've had to deal with. But on the other side, also just learning to put your ego down and working together as a team is an incredibly hard thing to do for 18 years. Even though I find it incredibly easy nowadays. When you first do it, I think that was our first challenge. But I would say addiction was definitely a massive part of putting a hole in our career, and on the other side of it, watching somebody really close to you go through addiction and then come out the other side is extremely positive experience as well. So it was like a real negative situation turning into a really positive situation.
My last gig was basically 12 years ago in Amnesia, while I was taking drugs, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't at all.
No, funny enough, it was in the big room, like in the movie. It's all called Pete Tong, in that room, in that booth, and I'd basically taken everything. And I was playing, and apparently Sven came on into the booth, and he just went like this, and I'd started with like sleeping pills in the morning, and then wine, cocaine, ketamine, you know, and basically I was catatonic while I was playing, and by those days, what I would do is I would mark the right side of the vinyl. So I didn't even know what I was playing, but I just, when I would see the marks, I knew that was the track that I had to play, you know? So basically, I was just playing whatever the fuck I was playing. But I did mix.
In time!
Mix in time. I mean, Ketamine was my main one.
Mate, I could never mix two records together.
I was mixing everything. And basically, yeah, Sven went like this. I didn't even notice. And I played my set. And then after the set, I basically collapsed and lost consciousness for 30 minutes. And I woke up with 20 people around me. They thought I was gonna die. And when I woke up, first thing I asked was for more drugs. And that sort of carried on for like 4 or 5 days till I had a rock bottom. And I asked for help because I had to go on a South American tour, which would have probably killed me if I would have gone on that. Where did you go to Peru, no? Or Colombia?
No. First it was Canada, wasn't it?
And Bolivia, no? You went to Bolivia, right? It was that gig where they offered you Charlie and stuff.
No, that was in Peru, where they were trying to get me and Josh Wink to do lines on the decks.
So I would have probably died on that tour.
Oh no, for sure, man. It was ridiculous.
You know, killed it on the K and the Coke and whatever. So yeah, basically, I was very lucky, and I went to treatment for 3. I basically went to London, and I stayed around Surrey next to Gatwick Airport. I actually worked. Funny enough, I had 1 year of rehab, and then I stayed a couple of years longer, clean, completely. I mean, I'm still clean. I'm 12 years in recovery now, clean and sober. And I worked in Chessington. I actually worked. The funny thing is, part of my rehab was, obviously, when you go to rehab, they really challenge your ego. So they made me look for jobs, you know, because I was a superstar DJ. I'd played in Amnesia. I was really cool, blah, blah, blah. So I got my first job in being clean. It was in Brighton, in a label called True Thoughts. Really good, down-tempo sort of Ninja Tune style label. You know, they have really good artists like Quantic Orchestra and stuff. And I was working in the storeroom, packing vinyls and CDs. So I was actually doing, because you know, I would always buy, when I was DJing, I would always have the record sent over to my house, and so I'd become the guy in the stockroom, packing CDs and stuff, which was really interesting. And nobody fucking knew me because it was a down-tempo label, and they were more into that kind of music, the big chill and all that sort of vibe. And they're like, who's Pig&Dan? So that was very good for my ego. And after that, I ended up working in Chessington
with the same song
as a ride operator.
La Cucaracha.
Then World of Adventures. And that was a fucking experience, dude. I was working in a roller coaster called the Rattlesnake. It was a Mexican themed roller coaster, and it had La Cucaracha playing on fucking loop, 12 hours a day. So I would get home and I could not make music. I would dream of La fucking Cucaracha. I mean, that was like, for a music producer and a DJ, that's like the worst nightmare, because you're living in La Cucaracha world, you know. But it was a good experience, you know. And what was very hard was coming back to the industry and realizing that we kind of had to start over again, and we got very little support from. Or I feel we got very little support from older labels and stuff, you know. I thought I was gonna come back and everybody was gonna have their arms wide open. Hey, welcome back, you're clean, and it was more like, you know, who's Pig&Dan kind of thing.
Yeah.
We were kind of forgotten, and you know, we had to claw our way back up and that was very challenging, and it kind of puts you in your place, and you really realize when when you really hit rock bottom, you realize who's there and who's not, and who's important and who's fake and who's real, and it really puts things into perspective, and it's very humbling. It's very humbling.
I don't think we were ever focused that much on success, Igor, were we? I mean, we just wanted to get our tunes out there and play them to people. We're a little bit deeper. We never looked for the money. We never really went into this industry. We did it passionately. I think success is a very strange word, because whatever you think, most people think what you do is shit, and this is something my father always said about ego, is he doesn't understand ego, because most people think everybody, even the Beatles, most people on earth, if you look at the world's population ratio, would think what you do is crap. But I think success for us was just being able to project our sound out there to people and cause moments of euphoria and fun, and forget about your problems. And playing our own music was our success, to be able to see people enjoy what we've created and playing it. Wasn't that our goal, Igor? I mean,
I think that was success, and getting on Cocoon and getting on good labels. That was, for us, what success was about. But I think also, as when I started in this, I was purely an artist, and through time and experience, you also become a businessman, and you do lose a little bit of the passion sometimes, especially with time. And I think once you've done, you've been on a lot of labels like we have. I mean, I'm being extremely honest here. I mean, we've been on Cocoon, on Soma, on Plus 8, on, I don't know. Drumcode, Suara. We've had 5 labels of our own. I mean, I'm not saying it from an ego point of view, but there comes a point where you're like, yeah, okay, I've done it, and you also, you're also making a living, it does become your living. So success also is making a good living,
Absolutely.
So the money does come in play, not at the beginning, but I have to say in the last 10 years, yeah, you want to make a good living, and you're negotiating, and we've done tours where we've not made money. I mean, we started making raves. That's the thing, your mentality changes, when you start work, when your passion becomes your job, then it becomes a business. And I'm sure you can also say that, It's very different when you're dancing in a club than when you're interviewing DJs, because you really start seeing how everything works, and it ruins it. It kind of ruins it, doesn't it?
It does.
It does ruin it. Yeah.
But the essence was not about. It was never about money. It was about being creative, and that essence is still there. I mean, you see my studio. Look, I've got my synths here. I've got my vinyls in the back. So music is music. It's always gonna be. I always say it's my wife. It's my most important thing. Even if I don't make music out of it, money out of it. But it does, when you start getting into it, then you start losing a bit of that passion, and you start focusing a lot in the business, and sometimes you can get lost. You lose your ways,
But I think recently, with the pandemic, it's given us a new...
Back to the roots.
It's back to the roots, yeah.
It has made... It's kind of like, okay.
Well, let's make what we want.
all this bullshit isn't worth anything, and now you gotta go and let's see who's really doing it and who's not, you know.
Oh, well, one of them was a guy overdosing in Canada. That was pretty strange. Do you remember him falling down and getting up, Igor? All the time. The promoter had a history of cocktails with drugs. And he came backstage and was like falling on the floor and then standing up and falling on the floor with the medics. That was one of the weirdest things, but possibly, for me, the weirdest thing was Igor sleeping under the decks when I was playing the set. Do you remember that, Igor?
In America?
Yeah, we were so tired that we were playing like 1 hour sets each. This was a long time ago because nowadays we usually play one-on-one, back-to-back. But we were so tired that Igor had managed to go to sleep underneath the DJ booth, like literally where my feet were during that set. And it was pounding, like banging techno, crowd going mad. And Igor was just snoozing beautifully. I remember waking you up, Igor, and going, mate, it's your turn. That was one of the weirdest things I've experienced. But Igor, can you think of any other ridiculous memories?
No, I mean, I remember in Cologne, some guy getting blown by a chick in this little room. I was playing in it, and I was playing, but it wasn't behind the DJ booth. They were actually in front of me, and she was basically blowing him in front of me. But I mean, not really. I don't mean, the thing is, I probably don't remember. That's the thing. Because I was blacked out most of the time. You know, when the crazy shit happened, I was in another dimension. So
same as me. I mean, we were both pretty bad. We were Calvin Klein.
Do you remember in that? Well, dude, the after hour. I mean, we can give you like after hour memories. You know, where the one in Ibiza where I fell behind a fence.
Yeah, Igor leant on this fence. We were on like a terrace, quite high terrace. I don't know, 5 meters, like 20 feet or something like that. And Sven Vath was playing, and we were with Adam Beyer and Monica Cruz, and we were all dabbling a little bit in things. And Igor leant on the fence of the terrace and proceeded to go with the post over over the side of the terrace, and luckily got his foot caught in the fencing. Because if not, he would have fallen down head first, right? So we kind of hear this murmuring of like, hey, you know, help! And we're looking around and Igor's not there, and we're thinking, what the fuck's going on? And we realise that Igor's hanging off this terrace by his ankle.